So from today, we are going to make proper notes, and we are starting with the first topic, which is enlightenment. So let's start with enlightenment, and let me tell you very important thing here. We have to imagine like what kind of questions can be asked in UPSC mains. As I told, this is a main specific topic. So let's say they can ask us a question, what is enlightenment? This is one question. Second, they can ask us a question like, what were the circumstances leading to the coming of enlightenment? Then they can ask us a question, what are the characters or features of enlightenment? Then after character and features, they can ask us a question like, what was the impact or consequences of enlightenment? Then they can ask us how the ideas of enlightenment spread beyond Europe. Then they can ask us question on specific thinkers, like which thinker contributed what to the age of enlightenment. And with this, the topic of enlightenment comes to an end. So all these topics will cover, by virtue of which we will be basically discussing any and every question that is possible. Let's start with enlightenment, and first we'll write an introduction to enlightenment. It was a cultural movement. It was a cultural movement in Europe in 17th and 18th centuries. 17th and 18th centuries, which was symbolized by new ideas, thinking and knowledge. Cultural movement in Europe in 17th and 18th centuries, which was symbolized by new ideas, thinking and knowledge. Then second point, the term enlightenment. The term enlightenment was for the first time used by German philosopher Kant, K-A-N-T, Kant, in his 1784 pamphlet. The pamphlet was published in 1784 pamphlet with the title, What is Enlightenment? What is enlightenment? So by far we have just written an introduction like what is enlightenment kind of a thing. So we said that it was a cultural movement, and culture is a very wide kind of a thing. If we talk about culture, let us try and understand what I mean by culture here. We live in India. What is our political culture? We are a democratic country. What is our religious culture? We are seculars and we are tolerant, right? So culture means politics, economy, and literature and art and everything. That is part of culture. Culture is a very broad term. So let me explain you something which is very important for all of us to know. Forget everything and just listen to what I'm going to explain, and then let me know what you want me to do. For our GS papers in mains, we know that there are 4 papers. Each paper is for 250 marks, right? Now, one paper which is for 250 marks, they ask us either 25 questions or 20 questions. If it is 25, then we have to give answers for 10 marks. If it is 20, then 12.5 marks. If it is 25, then we have to write answers in 150 words. If it is 20 questions, then we have to write answer in 200 words, right? This is what we know. Now, usually they ask this 25 questions. Fine. Now, when they ask us 25 questions, we are given 180 minutes to write our answers. So how many minutes you need to write an answer? Of 150 words, how many minutes you need to write this answer? Simple mathematics, 7 minutes, roughly 7 minutes. Great. Now, this 180 is the biggest illusion in this life. Why? You have to read 25 questions. And the questions in UPSC are something like this. What you understand by the term enlightenment, discuss its salient features and how it changed the life in Europe and beyond, explain. Now this is one question. You have to write answer to this question in 150 words. Even if you are a superb and you are very intelligent guy, you at least need 1 minute to read the statement, understand what exactly and what all they have asked, and then structure an answer in your mind that this is how I'm going to write now. So 1 minute for every answer mean question to understand means 25 minutes are gone. I am left with 155 minutes. Because I'm left with 155 minutes, now I am a human being. I need 1-2 minutes to start the process to understand that yes, the exam has started. And towards the end, I need 2-3 minutes to understand that have I done it all? Have I not like missed on anything important? If I have left some pages blank inside, so I have to now cross them and everything that I need to do. So 5 minutes are required for these basic things. So finally, I'm left with 150 minutes only. In these 150 minutes, I have to write these 25 answers. That means I get 6 minutes for every answer. Now, in these 6 minutes, I am not just to write answer. I have to write it in one such way that my examiner must be able to read what I have written. If he is not able to read, why should he then mark my answers? I know many students in the past who 100% sure knew out of 25 answer to 23 or 24 questions. They 100% knew this. But because they did not practice writing, they ended up writing 17 or 18 answers. Even if they wrote 18 answers, they left 7 questions unattempted, which means 70 marks gone. If 70 marks gone, 4 papers, 280 marks they did not even attempt. Now, how will they expect an interview call? All right. In that case, now we have written 2 statements. All right. So cultural movement in Europe in 17th, 18th centuries, symbolized by new ideas, thinkings, and knowledge. Second is the term enlightenment was used for the first time by German philosopher Kant in his 1784 pamphlet titled What is Enlightenment? Now we have to talk about what this gentleman, Mr. Kant, is talking about. What is enlightenment? Right? So make a small box. In this small box, write heading though Kant. Write this word. This is German word. I will explain everything about it. Latin term, basically, this is a Latin word. Sapere. Sapere. Now, what is sapere? Sapere is dare to know. Dare to know. Why you want to live a life of ignorance? Why don't you try explore the things and try understand them? What is the inhibition? What is the trouble? What is the fear that you have in your mind that you are not taking risk and not asking questions? Stop submitting to any and everyone. If church asks you do this, please dare to know why. If king says something, do this, have the courage and ask the king why. Dare to know, right? That was the motto of enlightenment according to the German philosopher Kant. Clear now what is enlightenment? It is please have the courage to ask questions. For what? You know, the men or the people before this age of enlightenment, they were living a life of ignorance. And what was the ignorance all about? It was self-perpetuated ignorance. You were ignorant because you did not have the courage to ask. Nobody was stopping you. Had you been asking questions beforehand, the kings and the church, they would have started answering you. But you had fears, right? Next point. The ideas of enlightenment. The ideas of enlightenment emerged in Britain and Holland. Emerged in Britain and Holland, and gradually they spread to other parts of Europe, and other parts of Europe, and rest of the world. Rest of the world. Now here I would like to make you understand something by the idea of enlightenment. This will help you not just in paper 1 history, it will help you in paper 2 polity, paper 4 ethics, and essay paper. Now when I say enlightenment, it's a ever continuous process which will never come to an end. Firstly, let's take an example. People in Europe realized that we can challenge the authority of church and state, and we need a democratic state and a secular state where religion must be left to the people. Like if they want to practice religion, in what way they want to practice the religion, the people, they should have the freedom. So this is how it started from Europe. Now, the ideas have to travel from Europe to other parts. From Europe, if it comes to Asia and Africa, or if it goes to Americas, what will happen? America will fight for its freedom. When the ideas will come to Asia and Africa, we will fight for our freedom. It will be India's freedom struggle or Africa's freedom struggle. Basically, it's for freedom. So ideas of enlightenment, as and when they travel to different parts, they talk about freedom. Now that you are talking about freedom, what is the basis of this freedom? Why are you seeking freedom? Because you believe in idea of equality. Europe said men are born equal. American said yes, so we should have equal rights. And American Constitution is written on the basis of the same idea, men are born equal. So Afro-Asian people say, aren't we equal? Does the color make the difference? No. So even we need our freedom. Now that you are talking about equality, the people in West gradually realized that it is not just equality between the men, it is equality between the sexes. So the feminist movement will start from Europe. They will start talking about the rights of women. Gradually, the idea will come to Americas and to Asias and Africas. Everywhere, the women right movements will start. So first you realize that men are equal. That was first enlightenment. Then you realize that men and women are equal. That was second enlightenment. And the process is still continuing. In many parts of the world, still women are not treated equally. And even in India, we can say that we treat women equally, but no, we are not. There are so many things that we need to do so far. Another question to all of you for enlightenment. This will help you in essay as well in your paper 4 ethics. There is a philosopher by the name of John Rawls. Name is John Rawls. You can write this name on one side of the paper. This is not for world history, but this is very important and you will relate with this in a very different way. John Rawls. Now, who is John Rawls and what exactly we are talking about here? He's an American philosopher of modern times. But yes, we have to understand his ideas for understanding something very new today, right? He talks about something called original position. Original position, right? Now, when he talks about original position, what is this original position? So all of us have to imagine something now. Let's say all of us are not yet born, right? We are one set of people who are not yet born. So we are living in the world of spirits. We all are souls, right? And we have to yet take the shape as a human body. So we are in the lap of nature, sitting near to God somewhere. And today, one of the representatives of God comes and asks us, so everyone get ready. The time has come now, you are to go to this living world. So we are giving you shape. Before we give you shape, tell us what kind of world you want to live in. We give you one day to think, let us know, and we will give you the exact world like you want. If I am to be born and somebody asks me, so first of all, I will say, see, I'm not sure I will be born a boy or a girl or a third gender. I want everyone have the same dignity. Because I'm not sure now what I'm going to be. If I am born a girl, even girl should have all the rights. Why boy should have all the fun? Girl should have all the rights. And if I am born a third gender, even I should have the same rights. Now, I am not sure whether I will be educated or uneducated. I will remain uneducated. I'm not sure. Make sure that even if I'm uneducated, I should have equality. Right? Why should, by the accident that I could not get education because of some other reason, not by choice, why should I be denied any right? I'm not sure whether I will be born in a city or a village. I should have same facilities. Why people in cities have all the hospitals, better educational institutions, better desks and everything. It should be in the villages too. right? So whatever I am born as, I should have the same rights, same dignity, same privileges. So do you agree? This should be something like this now, word. Now, if you have to make any special provision, it should be for the weakest. If somebody is weak in this lot, then they should get some special privilege, not the strong one. If you are already very strong, very flamboyant, very, rich man, then why should you need any special provision? So special provision must belong to the weak sections. Now, why should we talk anything wrong about reservation? It was in the original position we decided that the benefit should go to the weakest of all, not to the strongest of all. So when people talk wrong about reservation, despite from being a general category, which I don't believe, otherwise I'm just a human being, I have no objection against reservation. And had I been a reserve category man, I would have been selected the marks that I got. But still, I have no objection to it. I'm still very happy that there is a reservation system. Obviously, there are some problems which can be solved later on. But yes, I am all for it. This is one. Now, so we live in a world where we believe that a boy has to marry a girl and a girl has to marry a boy. Simple. How about LGBTQ rights? Why shouldn't they have the equality? And who say it is unnatural? If there is someone who has studied, let's say, botany or zoology, you must be knowing that in plant and animal kingdom, there is homosexuality. It is as natural as anything else. Then who are we to tell them that you are not right? Who are we to tell them that this is immoral? Stopping them is immoral. Think of a world where it would have been a routine by nature otherwise. In the original position, think of a world where a boy had to marry a boy and a girl has to marry a girl. And let's say it was me who is born and who wanted to marry a girl. People would think, "She kitna ganda insaan hai. He's such a bastard, yaar. He's trying to marry a girl." Mujhe kaisa lagta? How would I have been feeling in that situation? Same is the situation of those people who are now in the category of LGBTQ people. So that means enlightenment is a continuous process. Every new day we will learn something new and we will be enlightened afresh. So it is a never-ending kind of a thing. I hope everyone is now clear with the concept. All right, next likho ab. Prominent philosophers of enlightenment. Prominent philosophers of enlightenment. Here I'm giving you some basic. Original position is like where you have not achieved anything and where you all are equal. Now think that what if the civilization grows, what kind of world you want. That is original position. As I said, now you are not yet born. That is original position. Here we will be writing only the names of some of the philosophers, but when we will write specific note on philosophers, then we will elaborate them, right? So first name is Francis Bacon. Francis, Bacon, Bacon, who is a British. Francis Bacon, British. Number two, René Descartes. René Descartes, Descartes. Descartes. He is from Holland. René Descartes. Have you heard his name? Know something about him? Very popular man, experts in mathematics, logic, and whatnot, philosophy and everything. He gave a very sweet kind of an idea. Listen to the idea. Write the keyword on one side. I doubt. I doubt. Therefore, I ask. I doubt. Therefore, I ask. And therefore, I am. Rene, René, DES, D for Delhi, DES, CARTES, René Descartes. Forget everything. The first question is, who am I? Do I even exist or not? I doubt if I am. And then I think. When I think, I realize, oh, it's me who is thinking. Now at least this much is sure that I exist. Now let's talk about the next thing. Always start with a doubt that why this should be followed, why this should be agreed to, why this should be believed in. Then explore and find a reasonable answer to the question. If the answer is this is right, follow it. If the answer is no, then leave it. But always have a doubt. Why should I obey the king? The answer is king gives me protection. Good, I should obey him. No, but if the king kills me, then obviously I have to revolt. I doubt why king should be there. I ask question. and then I understand the existence of the institution of monarchy, and then I see what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses, and accordingly I can propose changes. So that should be the motto of life, right? Dare to know, explore, keep doubting things, keep exploring them, and keep improving them. That's human civilization. All right, third name is Spinoza. S-P-I-N-O-Z-A. S-P-I-N-O-Z-A. Spinoza. He's Dutch. Then next is John Locke. John Locke. L-O-C-K-E. John Locke. He's from Britain. Next three, I will name them. They are all from France. The three names that I gave yesterday. Montesquieu. M-O-N-T-E-S-Q-U-I-E-U. Montesquieu. Second, Voltaire. V-O-L-T-A-I-R-E. Voltaire. And third is Rousseau. R-O-U-S-S-E-A-U. Right? So these are key philosophers of enlightenment. Next heading, circumstances leading to the emergence of enlightenment. Circumstances leading to the emergence of enlightenment. Circumstances leading to the emergence of enlightenment. First point. It emerged out of the Protestant reaction. Protestant reaction against Catholic counter-reformation. It emerged out of a Protestant reaction against Catholic counter-reformation. So counter-reformation is when Reformation was started by Martin Luther. Martin Luther said, reform the church. Church said, okay, we will start the Reformation, but it is not as you ask us. We will do it as we want it. So that is counter-reformation. The church is trying to stop the success of Reformation. So the things that church will now do, the conservative old church, what they are doing counter-reformation. When they try to counter-reform themselves, they are not reforming as it was asked. So obviously there is reaction against counter-reformation. Okay, great. Next point. Reaction against Catholic counter-reformation. I hope I made it clear. Second point. It was a product of the evil practices prevailing in the politico-administrative and the socio-religious life in Europe during 16th and 17th centuries. Now, if somebody is asking me that what was that politico-administrative and socio-religious life that was a problem, so I did explain yesterday, but here the situation, if you would like to understand again, the kings are so bad, socio-religious. The kings are so bad, they are mistreating the people, the feudal lords are exploiting the people, the knights are exploiting the people, the ordinary people cannot ever get any chance for any sort of appointment under the state, so they will always continue to be slaves. This is one. That means there is no equality. And in the domain of religion, the church is corrupt, but at the same time the church is demanding so much from the people, right? The taxes imposed by church are separate from the taxes imposed by the state. So this is the socio-religious and the politico-administrative life against which people have so many problems. Third point, by the 16th century, the church had degenerated. The church had degenerated, and number of evils were prevalent. Number of evils were prevalent, against which Martin Luther and John Calvin, Calvin, John Calvin raised voice. John Calvin raised voice. Full stop. Their efforts started age of Reformation in Europe. Their efforts started age of Reformation in Europe, against which the Catholic Church started counter-reformation. Last point. This divided Europe. Into two groups. That is, the conservative Catholics and the progressive Protestants. Concluding line. This ideological division pushed Europe, push कर दिया, PUSHED, pushed Europe into a 30 years religious war. 30 years religious war, which finally ended in 1648. With the signing of Peace of Westphalia. Peace of Westphalia. WESTPHALIA. Westphalia, with which dominance of the church became weak. Whereafter Whereafter, the liberal rulers, the liberal are those who believe in freedom. Liberal rulers granted some freedom to their people. Some freedom to their people, and the new ideas started to emerge. This is how enlightenment came. Now let's write the next topic. Nature or character of enlightenment. Nature or character of enlightenment. Number one, the ideas of enlightenment were characterized by great belief in supremacy of knowledge. Great belief in supremacy of knowledge. Make a subpoint. The philosophers believed that the universe is governed by natural laws, and God does not maintain the universe. God does not maintain the universe. Full stop. Second subpoint. So people need to understand the natural laws. People need to understand the natural laws to improve their condition. Now let me tell you few things here which are very important, not to be written but to be understood. There is a law of nature. The law of nature says everyone will be born as a human being. If everyone is born as a human being, he or she or a third gender will have two legs, two eyes, or two hands, or two arms, two ears, one nose, tongue, and everything, right? So you all are equal. Does complexion of color makes any difference? The blood remains the same. The heart beats in the same way, right? Everything is same. If there is someone who is not same, right, he or she is like vulnerable, weak, then you have to help them. That's the law of nature. Then how can king says that this person can be the ruler and this person cannot be? What is this logic? So nature says everyone is equal and God is not interfering in day-to-day life. You cannot just sit and pray to God, God, please help me become a king or help me become an IAS. You have to make your efforts, and everyone will make efforts. Whosoever will make better efforts will get the result. So that's so simple. So start living life like this. Why are you dependent on kings or you are dependent on church? Dare to know, think rationally, and get what you deserve. That's so simple. So this is enlightenment. This is the character of enlightenment. And I'm surprised why West was telling us, the Indians, that your idea of enlightenment is only spiritual idea. Our idea is materialist idea. I don't know how many of you have read ancient Indian history. When Siddhartha became Buddha, Gautam became Buddha, what exactly did he say first thing? What was the first thing that he said? So our enlightenment was equally good as the Western enlightenment, but West always takes superiority in their enlightenment. Done? All right. Next, second point. It emphasizes on the idea of it emphasizes on the idea of on the ideas of liberalism, on the ideas of liberalism. Now, what is liberalism? Today, let me explain you this idea of liberalism. It will help you in your paper 2 polity as well. Liberalism is a political philosophy which is to be identified in a very different way when we see to it through three different lenses. There is political liberalism, there is social liberalism, and there is economic liberalism. You can make this flowchart with me, right? So we talk about three types of liberalism. Political liberalism talks about a very beautiful idea. They say that there has to be some limits on the powers of the authority, be it the king or anyone, even if it is parliament, there has to be something that limits their power. So they talk about limited government. They talk about the idea of limited government. Now, how you have to put that limitation on the authority? The only and only way is write a constitution. If there is a constitution, it will tell what the prime minister can do, what parliament can do, what are the powers given to them, and what are their obligations or responsibilities. So by writing a constitution, you can limit the authority of the state, right? And the same constitution will tell the rights and duties of the people as well. So in Indian constitution, we have fundamental rights and fundamental duties of the people. So this way you put restrictions on the state, on the authority, as well as on the ordinary people. That you can do this, but you cannot do this. This is your duty to follow the rules. Fine. So politically, the liberal writers, they talk about limited government and a constitution. Socially, they say that people should be given full freedom to choose their religion. There should be a secular state. Right? King should not tell us what is my religion. It is my private space. Now, if I believe in God, I believe. If I do not believe in God, it's okay. Why should state come and tell me you have to believe in God? See, I tell you a difference. India is a secular state, right? So if I say I believe in God, good. If I say no, I don't believe in God, equally good. Nobody can come and punish me for this in India, right? Luckily. And if I say, okay, I believe in one God and that God is Krishna, great. That God is Vishnu, excellent. That God is Allah, that's beautiful. That God is Vaheguru, equally good. Story ends. Now, if I live in Pakistan, I say, I believe in God, but that God is not Allah, that God is someone else. I will be killed. I will be punished because Pakistan is not a secular state. It's an Islamic Republic of Pakistan. So they say that the state itself believe in one God and that one God is Allah and that is it. How can you challenge? And I cannot even say that, no, I don't believe in God. They will know you have to believe in God. There is one God, that God is Allah. Right? Right, that's true. All right. So political, social, what is economic liberalism? This is the idea of Adam Smith, who is otherwise called the father of economics. Now, what he says is laissez-faire. Laissez, laissez-faire. Now, what is laissez-faire? It is leave the man alone, right? So this is liberalism. Now, this is what exactly enlightenment is. Put restrictions on the powers of the state, tell what rights people have, give them freedom of religion, and the state must not try to interfere in the economic life. Why? Because the taxes should be rational and everybody should have equal right. Number 3. Number 1 was supremacy of nature. Number 2 is liberalism. Number 3, it emphasized on application of logic and reason. It emphasized on application of logic and reason. All right, next sub point hai, it emphasized on the fact that the institutions must be tested. The institutions must be tested on the scale of reason. On the scale of reason to understand their efficacy. To understand their efficacy. 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 Efficacy is usefulness. To understand their efficacy. It is usefulness. Now, what I mean by the institutions must be tested on the scale of reason to understand their efficacy. So there is one institution called church, and this institution called church, it interferes in my life in every way. It tells me that what I have to study, what I have not to study. It tells me how I have to marry and how I have to live in my family. It tells me how I have to believe in God. It is giving me no freedom in any sphere. It even tells me that if I run after money, if I invest money, if I take money, if I give money on interest, I am like doing something as if it is a sin. Now, please check, is it something that the church is made to do or not? And if church interferes in everything, is it helpful for the promotion of religion or not? Ask few questions from church. If you find that the institution is good, let it do all this. But if you find that institution is unnecessarily interfering in those domains of life for which it was perhaps not made, then what is the utility of it? Let's get rid of it. Simple. If my religion tells me to kill someone, I'm sorry, I cannot do it. If my religion says go for crusade, fight against people and kill them, why should I believe in that religion? Because ultimately you have to understand there is one God and we all are equal for that God. And how can we kill each other in the name of religion? Right? So this is what enlightenment is, and I think it is more important today. It has to come again afresh and make us understand that there is no concept of either jihad or Hindu Rashtra. There is only one concept, and the concept is of humanity. Right? Next, number 4. It emphasized on the idea of empiricism. 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 What is empiricism? See, I think of something, right? And then I can touch, feel it. If I can touch and feel something, then I can believe in it. That is empiricism. There is either empiricism or there is normative ideas. There are only normative, like they are in norms, they are in air, and then they are practically existing. That is empiricism. You can put an hyphen, right? Accept ideas and practices. Accept ideas and practices that can be seen, touched and felt. EMPIRICISM. Empiricism. Accept ideas and practices that can be seen, touched and felt. Now let's take one example. The low caste people are to be treated as untouchables. I touch one untouchable and tell me what happened. If something happens, I will believe in it and I will tell everyone not to do it. But if nothing happens, then what was this practice all about? Why we were believing in this nonsense kind of an idea that they are untouchables? It emphasized on the doctrine of humanism. It emphasized on the doctrine of humanism. Doctrine of humanism, which emphasizes on human progress. Which emphasizes on human progress. See, let us do those things that can contribute towards the idea of progress. We will move towards into a better future. Enlightenment का अगला feature है, it is egalitarian in its outlook. Egalitarian in its outlook, इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Sub point. It believes in equality of all. It believes in equality of all. Next, It is constitutional in outlook. या ऐसा लिखो, it believes in the idea of constitutionalism. It believes in the idea of constitutionalism. So put a hyphen and write exercise authority in accordance with law. See, if there is no constitution and I am the king, then there is no limitation on my power. I can say, okay, kill all the girls, and nobody can object to it. Okay, next feature is it believed in, it was democratic in its outlook. Hyphen, believe that the will of majority must prevail. Will of majority must prevail. Next, it was progressive in its outlook. Progressive in its outlook, hyphen, it was inspired by a vision of better and brighter future. Better and brighter future. The aim is to improve the quality of life, to give people more meaningful life. They should have their rights, they should have equality, they should have liberty. Next, it emphasized on application of wisdom. Apply wisdom and then think whether what you are doing is right or wrong. Just don't go by the word, right? Next, it emphasized on the idea of tolerance. Be tolerant to different set of ideas, be tolerant to different type of beliefs. Don't be like one such person who is always believing in what I am saying is right. Next, it emphasized on scientific outlook. Next, it was anti-superstition. In its outlook. Next, it was reformative in character. It wanted to reform the society for better. Reformative in character. Next, it emphasized on the idea of individualism. It means that every individual is important. Individualism means every individual is important. Now look at this. Here we have state, right? And then we have an individual. Fine. Now, as long as we said that state is most important and the state was personified by a king, right? We said state is most important. So we said that state is the end. End here means the final objective. We have to protect this state. If there is no state, people cannot be safe. So the end is state. We want to like make state the final objective, and we have to all live and die for state. And man is means. Man is means. Men come together and finally they make a state. If this state is there, only then the life of the man is meaningful. So man is just one unit. The ultimate unit is state. So that is why it is divine. This is what it was believed originally. State is the end, man is the means. So the purpose of the man's existence is to serve the state, and that is it. We serve the state, and in return state protects us and we live. Now if we will not serve the state, state is so powerful, state will eliminate us. That was the belief, right? Now with idea of enlightenment, the things changed. State is a means, man is the end. The state exists to make the life of man meaningful. It is individual who is important, and to protect this individual, to make his life meaningful, to protect his rights, we created state. So state is a man-made institution to protect the rights of men. Clear? This is how the idea changed with coming of enlightenment. Let's write the concluding line and then we'll start with next topic. So write concluding line है. So enlightenment was symbolized by intellectual maturity of mankind. Intellectual maturity of mankind. It is like the man has now become intellectually mature. He understands that what wrongs were being done in the past and how they have to be now changed. Intellectual maturity of mankind. This is the concluding line. Enlightenment was the emancipation of human consciousness from immature state of ignorance. All right, next, spread of enlightenment. No, not spread. First we have to write impact or consequences of enlightenment. Impact or consequences of enlightenment. Number 1, growth of new awakening. Among the masses. Growth of new awakening among the masses, and the people started questioning. The efficacy of the existing institutions and practices. With which the demand for reforms began. See what happened? Now the new ideas came. People started questioning the efficacy of the institutions and practices. Let's say one institution is the institution of kingship, monarchy. Now people are evaluating, do we need king or not? So people said, yes, we need king. Why we need king? Because there has to be someone who is in authority to decide the disputes in society. If we fight with each other, who will solve the problem? The king. Now we need king. Decided. Should king have all the powers that he's enjoying already, or shall there be some restriction on his power? There must be some restrictions. There cannot be an absolute king. So how we will put some restriction on his power? Let's write a constitution. Simple. Now this is what enlightenment is. Second point. Ideas of liberty ideas of liberty, equality, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Liberty is all are like have freedom. Equality, all will be treated as equals. Fraternity is you have to believe in the idea of universal brotherhood. You all are like brothers. Don't fight unnecessarily. So the ideas like liberty, equality, and fraternity became popular. Became popular. Next, enlightenment was responsible for enlightenment was responsible for a number of revolutions, number of revolutions which basically were an expression of unfulfilled aspirations of the masses. Unfulfilled aspirations of the masses. Now, what I mean by this, people always wanted that they should have say in the day-to-day administration. People should have some participation in it. So people had an aspiration. Now enlightenment gave it an expression, and people revolted that unless we get our rights, we are not going to bow down to the king anymore. So French Revolution, American Revolution, Russian Revolution, what is it all about? It is about enlightenment, right? Number 4 is remarkable progress was made. Remarkable progress was made in the field of literature. Remarkable progress was made in the field of literature. Subpoint, Dennis wrote first encyclopedia. D बड़ा रहेगा Dennis का. DENIS, Dennis wrote first encyclopedia. ENCYCLOPEDIA, mother of Wikipedia. Right? Encyclopedia is mother of Wikipedia. First encyclopedia was formed, then we got Wikipedia. All right. Next main point. Scientific inventions encouraged by the liberal and progressive ideas. Liberal and progressive ideas of enlightenment prepared the background for industrial revolution. Now, how it happened? See, there are two things that we need to understand. One, people now believe in science. They are no more superstitious. They are not just believing that if it is destined, it will happen one day. We will not make efforts. The king and the church are no more telling them that if it is to happen, God will make it happen naturally. So now people are making experiments, inventions themselves. 1, 2. Earlier, church was saying that if you run after money, you accumulate sin. Now the church is weak. The progressive idea says earn money and enjoy life. So people invest to make things that can make their life more comfortable. So industrial revolution will definitely come now. Had there been no enlightenment, there would have been no industrial revolution. Had there been no industrial revolution, there would have been no competition among the nations to acquire more markets. Had there been no competition among the nations to acquire more markets, there would have been no world wars. So enlightenment leads to industrial revolution leads to colonialism leads to conflict leads to world war. So if they ask you what were the negative outcomes of enlightenment, you will start getting points now. Even if I will not dictate everything, I will explain everything so that at one point you are able to write any and every answer. Next, the ideology of nationalism emerged. The ideology of nationalism emerged, and this resulted in American War of Independence. American War of Independence. America believe it is a separate nation and they want all their rights and freedom and sovereignty. American Revolution, and also to Italian and German unifications. Next, the spread of Enlightenment ideas. The spread of Enlightenment ideas doomed, D-O-O-M-E-D, doomed the fate, F-A-T-E, fate of medievalism. Spread of the Enlightenment ideas doomed the fate, F-A-T-E, fate of medievalism. M-E-D-I-E-V-A-L-I-S-M, medievalism in Europe. Medievalism in Europe, and triggered the beginning of modern age. Triggered the beginning of modern age. Now, what is medievalism? The medieval world is the world characterized by dark ages, where there was no knowledge, no questioning, and complete submission to authority. With the coming of Enlightenment, medievalism comes to an end and the modern ideas began. Ideas of democracy, equality, justice, rights, constitutionalism, separation of power, and rule of law. And these are the modern day ideas. We still believe in all of these ideas. Next, it led to the commencement of decolonization. Subpoint, American Revolution was its first example. America was decolonized. They got freedom. American Revolution was its first example. And then entire Asia and Africa will be decolonized. And how? Once we get enlightenment that we are also equal, our leaders like Dadabhai Naroji or others, they will use the same logics. If you believe in equality, then where is equality of Indians? If you believe in liberty, where is the liberty of Indian people? Why are we not free? And Tilak will say, freedom is my birthright. If Europe has freedom, then why Indians are not being allowed that same right of freedom? So that is how you will counter the British ideas. Next, liberal and progressive ideas. Liberal and progressive ideas left a lasting impact. On the policies of many rulers. And those who changed themselves, the rulers who changed themselves, they were called what? Put it in brackets. In the policies of many rulers, and they were called enlightened despots. Enlightened despots. Now, what we mean by this word, we have to understand it again. So, guys, if I say that someone is democratic, a person who is ruling, a ruler is democratic, that means he believes that everyone has a say in decision making. If I say he is despotic, that means he is not believing in everyone's freedom. He is someone who believes that he alone is capable of taking all the decisions. He doesn't believe in people interfering. So it is enlightened despots. That means the kings They are still believing in the idea of despotism. We are not going to give all the rights to people in one go. It is not going to be a democracy. But now we are enlightened that we have to at least acknowledge some of the demands of the people. Let's go for some very basic reforms. Let us give them at least freedom of speech and expression so that they can tell us what they want, and slowly and gradually we can give them what they are asking for, so that there are not repeated agitations against us. So enlightenment turned the absolute despots into enlightened despots. Clear this point? And I'm repeating the last point. Liberal and progressive ideas left a lasting impact on the policies and programs of many rulers who are called enlightened despots. Subpoint: royal absolutism. The kings believe that they have the royal power which is absolute for them. Royal absolutism based on the idea of divine monarchy. Royal absolutism based on the idea of divine monarchy was now started to be replaced by the idea of benevolent despotism. Royal absolutism now replaced with the idea of benevolent despotism. Before I make you understand the meaning of this word benevolent, just search it on Google. Our parents are like benevolent despots to us. Why my parents are benevolent despots? They use authority, snub me while I am a child. They keep me in check. Don't do this, don't go out, stay inside, don't wear these clothes, things like this. But they are benevolent. They are trying to protect me. They are helping me live a better life. So their authority is used for my betterment. The kings who were earlier like, it was royal absolutism. It is something like that. I go and ask my father, Papa, why can't I go at night? Why can't I go for a party at night? Dare you ask me? I'm father. I'm not answerable. That is royal absolutism. Then benevolent despotism. Papa, why can't I go for a party at night? Beta, you may invite some trouble. People may drink. There can be a quarrel, and you are very innocent, my dear child. So you may end up being in unnecessary trouble. Stay home, and if you want, we can have a party at home. We together will dance. Okay, Papa is so nice now. He is benevolent, but at the same time, he's still a despotic person. He's not letting me go anywhere. Is it clear now? So if it is that the kings became enlightened, they turned into benevolent despots. At least they're starting telling people what they are doing and why they are doing. Once you start telling your people, like same story earlier, Papa, can I go to party? No. Why? Dare you ask me? I am father, I rule. Get lost. Story ended. Papa, why can't I go? The benevolent despot. Beta, you may end up being in trouble. So avoid it. Papa, but I am mature now. So trust me once. Let me go. If you allow, I will come by 10. I promise. Okay, go. Today it's 10. Tomorrow I will come back and Papa, I have a party. I will come 11. And then it's a party, Papa. It's a night over. Now Papa is like gone. Authority is gone. So the movement, the absolute monarchs turned into despots, the benevolent despots. The people started demanding new things every day. Soon it will be complete democracy. People will have all the rights. And now you deny them, they will revolt. ठीक है पापा, फिर मैं घर ले लेता हूँ साइड पे. अगर आपने नहीं जाने देना, मैं अलग से कमरा ले लेता हूँ. I will stay at the PG. So do you think you can afford it? Yes, Papa, I can teach tuitions and I can afford it. So that is the age of enlightenment. Next is sub point. ये अगला sub point में लिखो. The kings like, the rulers like, not the king, the rulers like Frederick the Great in Prussia. Frederick the Great in Prussia. Prussia. This is Germany. Frederick the Great, Frederik. Frederick the Great in Prussia, comma, Joseph II, Joseph, Joseph II in Austria. Joseph II in Austria, Austria, and Catherine the Great. Catherine, Catherine. Catherine. Catherine the Great in Russia. Catherine the Great in Russia. Agreed to the ideas like religious tolerance, and liberal education, as well as freedom of press. You know, there is always a problem. If Papa agrees to one thing, we have a second demand. And then it is a cascading kind of a thing. Now, every new day we will come with a new demand. And if Papa has once submitted, we all know that Papa will submit again. So that's why either Papa is Papa or Papa is friend. There is always a story like this. So either a king is king or king becomes a friend. And when kings become a friend, you choose your friends. Then it becomes democracy. So once the king started agreeing to what you asked for, you said, give us some freedom of speech. The king gave the freedom of speech and you started speaking, we don't want you. We want democratic rights now. How can king stop it now? And if he stops, then you will revolt. That once we got the freedom, how can you deny it? Right? So this is how enlightenment changed the way the world is to be now seen and it is to be governed. Okay. So now we are left with spread of enlightenment and thinkers. Spread of enlightenment. We will do only spread of enlightenment, not the thinkers. I will link the thinkers with American and French Revolution, because there we have to make a background for thinkers with which the enlightenment ideas led to revolts by people. So spread of enlightenment is the last topic for the day. That's why I asked. Number 1. Though the ideas emerged first in Britain and Holland, this is introduction. Though the ideas first emerged in Britain and Holland, but gradually they spread all over Europe and beyond. They reached America, they reached Asia, they reached Africa, everywhere and beyond. Now, what are the reasons? First reason is role of writings and speeches. When people will write books, pamphlets, they will give speeches at different places, the ideas will travel very fast. Role of writings and speeches. Second point, newspapers and pamphlets. Transported these ideas across political frontiers from one country to other. Transported these ideas across political frontiers and awakened the middle class. All right, next. Agla, newspapers and pamphlets. Number 3, the reforms initiated by benevolent despots convinced the masses about the utility of these ideas. Had it been something like this, ना पापा मैंने ये करना है, जब थप्पड़ पड़ता मैं अंदर बैठा तो रो रहा होता, फिर मैं अपने फ्रेंड्स को बोल रहा था कोई फायदा नहीं होता यार, पापा कुछ कहने का थप्पड़ ही पड़ता है. Like Papa doesn't bother, he has only one thing, that's slap. Fine, but now when I said, Papa said yes, okay, you can go for a party up to 10. Ideas are working. Let's explore more. Tomorrow let's talk about 10:30, then 11, then a night over. So people were now convinced that ideas are working, we can explore more and we can get more freedom. So that's how the idea started to spread more and more. Next, role of merchants and traders. Role of merchants and traders. Now, how is it possible that merchants and traders lead to spread of enlightenment ideas? So, role of merchants and traders who travel and carry new ideas to new places. New ideas to new places. Next, the process of colonization. The process of colonization and reforms initiated by the European masters. Now let me give you an idea. The British came to India and they subjugated India. They started exploiting us politically, economically, culturally, socially, in every aspect. But at the same time, they introduced English language in India. Once English language was introduced, that was a reform by the colonial masters. Now we could read American Revolution. We could read about French Revolution. We could read about the ideas of democracy, and we started demanding the same from them. So accidentally, they introduced Enlightenment ideas in Asia and Africa. This is how the idea spread. With the coming of Europeans to new continents, the same ideas of Europe traveled to the new continents and people became aware of them. Next, activities of Christian missionaries. Activities of Christian missionaries. Now, these Christian missionaries will try to prove a point that why Christianity is better than the other religions like Hinduism or Islam or whatever it is. So they will always try to say, "Na, see, we believe in equality of all. We treat everyone as equal. We don't believe in caste system. We don't do this. We don't do that." So all the evil things they will just expose in front of the eyes of the people. So you are now ready for reforms. They told that these are the wrong practices. We got rid of them long back. Now you need to get rid of them. So obviously the new ideas are come to light. Last, contribution of world war. There are two things which we need to understand about contribution of world wars. Number one, obviously, yes, people met. Soldiers from Africa, they were carried to Europe to fight the war. When they went to Europe, they will meet the European counterparts, the soldiers, and they will discuss many new ideas now. That is why immediately after First World War, freedom struggle in Asia and Africa became very swift. Because they traveled to Europe, they learned so many new things. The common people now, the common soldiers are like the commoners. They are not even the middle class. We don't expect the rich business people to work as soldiers. But now when the common people traveled, interacted, met those people, explored these ideas, when they came back, they were ready to participate in the freedom struggle. That is why after World War I, when we talk about the real sense mass movement in India began in 1920s with non-cooperation movement. 1919 World War I ended. So now the masses are ready for change. 1, 2. The Europeans were telling us that you, the blacks and the browns, are unequal. So that's why we are ruling over you. But during World War I, the black soldier could kill a white soldier. Now, how can we are unequals? We are equally good. So how come the idea of we being inferior is justified? Now explain. Enlightenment. Dare to know why you were telling us we are inferiors. Can you explain it logically? If not, thank you, bye, good night. That's simple. So that's why we said, okay, if you cannot explain it, transfer the power to Indians. Done. This is how World War contributed in the spread of Enlightenment ideas.